Hey, Shalom Markins Vakar Kapash from Jim London, giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashem Chachwadash. Want to give double honors unto the elders, the apostles of GMS, and Shalom out there to the whole that's pushing its truth and all sincerity. Back again with another video. This video is inspired. I was doing some reading out of my annotated Oxford Bible, which was recommended by Elder Malcolm quite a while back, and I was reading through it, and I was in the where was I? In 2 Kings, chapter 8, I believe, and it speaks about leprosy, and a guy that had leprosy, and when you read these comments from these scholars or whatever, right? They show or lack of understanding of what these things are, because they seem amazed and astounded that this person that there was commenting on, seemed like he had no issues. Let me see if I can find it. Where is it written? Right. So I'm just gonna read what they wrote here. I'm not gonna go into the chapter or nothing like that, but it just says the leprosy of Gehazi is ignored here. Perhaps it was a mild case, or perhaps the tradition from which the story comes, it knew nothing of it, right? So, see, the understanding is, there isn't, just because you got leprosy doesn't mean necessarily that you are impaired in any ways. It's not necessarily a physical condition that affects you in doing things, and I'm gonna go through it in the scriptures, right? Because it's simply a lack of pigment in a lot of cases, right? Which, just because you have lack of pigment doesn't mean you have lack of mobility or whatever, right? So, it just seemed a bit like, oh, well, we're surprised. Maybe it's a mild case, that's why he was all right. But really, it has nothing really to do with that. And this is this understanding of what leprosy is today, and what it really is. Because when we're told about leprosy initially, we are shown, like, you see that the hands here, they're all malformed, right? So that's going to impede your ability to use your hands, So if this is your understanding of leprosy, okay, then yeah, it would seem strange that some people can just live normally with this biblical leprosy here, okay, but it doesn't make sense to these scholars, because they're kind of imagining, yeah, these people are like a deformed of some sort, right? But there's more to this than just having gnarled hands, whatever, right? And we're gonna show you what leprosy is in the scriptures. It's something we've gone over, in the past, in it. But like I said, I was inspired by the lack of understanding from these so-called scholars, man. That put together these books and write these comments. It's like they don't have an understanding of what leprosy is, and what it entails, right? So, it's a weird. I feel like they've changed a little bit, because I never remembered seeing so many pictures of actual leprosy, right? You usually get that the hands and the feet and stuff like that, how they all mash up, right? Because they call this Hansen disease, right? Where are we now? All right, so let's have a look. It's Hansen's disease, isn't it? Pretty sure I read this a minute ago. Maybe it was on a different page. Yeah, there you go. Hansen's disease. That's what they call it today, right? But so we're gonna go into some scriptures to show you, what it really is and what it covers. Okay, because we're told today that this is vitiligo, okay, which is what Esau's got over his whole body, okay, which is a leprosy, okay, which we're gonna show you in the scriptures, So they confuse all these different things and give them different names and just confuse really what it is that is happening, you know, because biblically all these things are leprosies, right? But there's different types, for lack of a better word, right? So we're gonna go and start off with the law, all right? So let's just start from. We're just gonna read through it, right? It says Leviticus 13:1 says, the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, saying, when a man shall have in the skin of his flesh a rising, a scab, or a bright spot, and it be in the skin of his flesh like the plague of leprosy, right? So it looks like that's what it is, right? Then he should be brought unto Aaron the priest, or unto one of his sons the priests, right? So if we go back to these images here, right? So the bright spots, right? Why are they bright? Well, because men are dark skinned. Okay, men from the beginning were dark skinned, right? And there were lepers out there. Okay, which we're going to get into the understanding of that, right? But a bright spot arising of the scab. You can see, this leg here. That's on a white guy, so that's how it looks, right? And all these lumps and bumps here, right? So that's that rising of the skin, scabbing, right? Okay, that's a form of leprosy. But there are others. Right, so and the priest should look on the plague in the skin of the flesh, and when the hair in the plague is turned white, and the plague in sight be deeper than the skin of his flesh, it is a plague of leprosy. A plague of leprosy, meaning leprosy has more than one form, okay, which it covers these forms, right? It is a plague of leprosy, and the priest shall look on him and pronounce him unclean, right? These are unclean lepers, right? These are unclean lepers. Okay, you would have to put them out, okay, away from the congregation, you know. So it says, if the bright spot be white in the skin and in his flesh, in the skin of his flesh, and in the sight be not deeper than the skin, and the hair thereof be not turned white, then the priest shall shut up him that have the plague 7 days. So you shut him away for 7 days, right? Keep him away. He's contagious, right? Keep him away. And the priest shall look on him the 7th day, and behold, if the plague in his sight be at a stay, and the plague spread not in the skin, then the priest shall shut him up 7 days more. And the priest shall look on him again the 7th day, and behold, if the plague be somewhat dark, and the plague spread not in his skin, the priest shall pronounce him clean. It is but a scab. It's like it, right? So after this process of investigation has gone on, and it's decided, but the priest is like, well, that's just a scab, in the skin that's raised up because it's not spreading, okay, and it's turned dark. It's the blood is congealed, right, and whatever. It's not contagious, right? It's just a scab, right? It's cool. But if the scab spread much abroad in the skin, right, it starts going everywhere on the body, right? Just like these people here, right? Start going everywhere. That's what always back here, right? So you know, so here's a different. We're gonna get into it, but here you see the hands here with the lack of pigment, which they call vitiligo or vitiligo, right? That's a different type of leprosy, right? Anyway, we're gonna get into that. So yeah, but if the scab spread much abroad in the skin after that ye have been seen of the priest for his cleansing, he shall be seen of the priest again. If the priest see that, behold, the scab spreadeth in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a leprosy. When the plague of leprosy is in a man, that he shall be brought unto the priest, and the priest shall see him. And behold, if the rising be white in the skin, and they have turned the hair white, there be quick raw flesh in the rising. Okay, the raw flesh again, good example, right? You can raw, right? Red as hell. Even this red as hell, right? All right. It says it is an old leprosy in the skin of his flesh, and the priest shall pronounce him unclean and shall not shut him up, for he is unclean. And if a leprosy break out abroad in the skin, and leprosy cover all the skin of him that have the plague, from his head even to his foot, wheresoever the priest looketh, then the priest shall consider, and behold, if the leprosy have covered all his flesh, he shall pronounce him clean that have the plague. It is all turned white. He is clean. Now, the so-called white man is so-called white man, right? He have a form of leprosy, where he would be considered a clean leper. If you go back to the vitiligo thing here, right? Because all this is another form of leprosy. It's not the same as that which one we were just looking at necessarily, but it is a plague in the skin. It's a leprosy, right? These things don't necessarily lead to deformities, right? Which render you incapable of using certain body parts or whatever, right? But again, here it says vitiligo is a chronic, long-lasting autoimmune disorder that causes patches of the skin to lose pigment or color, right? These would be unclean lepers, right? But one that is covered head to toe, it's all white, because that's what the so-called white man is. He has lack of pigment, but he's covered head to toe with no pigment. He is considered a clean leper, right? So this happens when melanocytes, skin cells that make pigment, are attacked and destroyed. Okay, he is destroyed, wasted away, is he, right? Esau's, so-called white man's, pigment has been destroyed, right? He came out that way. He didn't progressively get older and lose his pigment. Esau was born that way. Okay, and it's something that he holds in his race. Okay, genetics, or whatever you want to call it, but that's how Esau's nation came to be. Because, like I mentioned, everybody on the planet, apart from the lepers, obviously, were dark skinned. Now, Esau is the only one who is a family or a tribe, a nation of so-called white people. Okay, which is a misnomer in this time, because Esau tried to call himself that to represent purity and righteousness, but he was made without pigment, right? So that's where the so-called white man comes from, right? Because he's Jacob's brother, who was a dark-skinned man, right? It says when skin cells that make pigment are attacked and destroyed, causing the skin to turn a milky white color, right? And that's what Esau is for the most part. But ultimately he's red because what you see when there's no pigment, you see the blood vessels, right? And you see his redness, when they blush, when they get hot, when they get frustrated, right? So when what was it now? Right, so that's the clean leper, right? But when the raw flesh appeareth in him, he shall be unclean. And the priest shall see the raw flesh and pronounce him to be unclean, for the raw flesh is unclean, it is a leprosy. Or if the raw flesh turn again and be changed unto white, he shall come unto the priest, and the priest shall see him, and behold, if the plague be turned into white, then the priest shall pronounce him clean that have the plague, he is clean. Pardon me, right? The flesh also, in which even in the skin thereof was a boil, and is healed, and in the place of the boil there be a white rising or a bright spot, white and somewhat reddish, it be shewed to the priest. And when the priest seeth it, behold, it is slightly lower than the skin, and the hair thereof be turned white, the priest should pronounce him unclean. It is a plague of leprosy broken out of the boil. So this, basically saying different under different circumstances, right? But basically made the point. But there is one other caveat. Um, about yellow hair, about blonde hair. Just trying to find the verse. It said, all right, here we are. All right, so verse 29 here says, if a man or woman have a plague upon the head or the beard, right, then the priest shall see the plague, and behold, if it be in sight deeper than the skin, and they be in it a yellow thin hair, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a dry skull, even a leprosy upon the head or beard. Right, so leprosy comes in different forms. All right, but like I say, Esau, he brings confusion into this because he starts renaming things, like he does, right? He'll call one thing vitiligo. I mean, it'd be maybe it'd be fine if these were like subterms, right, of leprosy, but the leprosy is not mentioned at all. So you don't, you think these things are different, but like leprosy is like the overarching uh, issue or disease or whatever, curse, because that's what it is. All right. Rather than naming it or renaming things, Hansen's disease, you name it after some other guy like he made it up, you know. But these are all leprosies. All right. Esau just happens to be a clean leper. He's head to toe, white or lacking pigment. Okay. So here's the examples of all of this, right? After going through that, right? Uh, so here we got Numbers 12 and 10, and this is speaking about Miriam, right? And again, going back to the annotated Bible here, that I was reading, it's like it shouldn't be a surprise that you know just because a man had leprosy didn't mean he wasn't capable. You know, I'm going to get an example of that. So here Numbers 12 and 10 says, and the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous. She became leprous because she was a colored woman, a dark skinned woman, right? But the Lord cursed her and made her leprous, white as snow. Okay, she became milky white, right? Uh, Not this image. She became milky white, as it says here, right? Turned a milky white color, lacking pigment. That's what the Lord did to her, right? Saying when Moses put his hand in his bosom and took it out, and his hand was leprous, it was white as snow, right? Or however it was described, right? The Lord removed the pigment from his hand, just like this guy here. He got his hand is lacking pigment. Well, obviously, he got some pigment around it, but that's what happened, right? Made his whole hand white. Right, and Aaron said unto Moses, alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not this sin upon us. Right. So the fact that the Lord put in it was a sin, a curse, a punishment. Right. When we have done foolishly and where we have sinned. Right. Because she was chatting, she was chatting against Moses. Okay, which is like chatting against the Messiah and his word, and what he was, ordered to do. Right. Mary, didn't respect that. So Lord showed her something. And then she had to get put out of the camp too. Right, until it was gone. All right. And it says here, it says verse 12, let her not be as one dead, destroyed. What was it? Destroyed. Attacked and destroyed. Pigment was attacked and destroyed, right? Uh, whom let her not be as one dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed when he cometh out of his mother's womb, right? So if you understand, I mean, I saw it firsthand, so, but if you understand, but, pigment comes late in the game when you're being, made in your mother's womb, right? Your pigment is one, one of the last things to come. And by the time he was premature, like a month. And when he come out, man, yeah, he had no pigment at all, right? And so, it didn't come until later. He proper dark now. So that's what he's speaking about here, right? Half consumed when he cometh out of his mother's womb. You ain't baked proper, man. You know, you ain't done the full, you know, the full time. All right, and that's Esau. Like, you know, he come to term, but he's still lacking pigment, and he don't get no darker as he gets older. You know, some of them might be able to catch a little bit of tan there, but most of them burn and turn red. You know, and you know, I want to speak about Edomites, okay? Because you got Jake out there that have lack of pigment. You know, they tan pretty good. You know, it's like they got dormant pigments, you know, pigment cells, you know, under there. But you know, Esau most of the time he just burns, and that's why they be, you know, they create all the sunblock and wear all that sunblock. You know, but you see Edomites out in the sun, man, they're red like lobsters, man. All right, so you know that's just an example of that. Um, so right, that was Miriam, right? So here is, and like I said, Miriam was just normal. She was just turned, you know, leprous, right? She weren't malformed or anything like that, right? But you got this example here, right? Second Kings chapter 5 verse 1 says, now Naaman, captain of the host of the king of Syria, was a great man with his master, and honorable because by him the Lord had given deliverance unto Syria. He was also a mighty man in valor, but he was a leper. Now tell me how a mighty man is going to be mighty on the battlefield if he got mash up hands, you know, mash up feet, mash up body. How is he going to be able to do that, you know, if he got mash up hands, right? Because you see it, this guy's dark skin, but he got, you know, he got this disease, you know, this disease, right? But his hands will mash up, but he ain't got all the other symptoms to that, you know, the pigment and the rising scabs, and he's got gnarled hands, you know. And this is what, you know, they make you think of when they talk about leprosy. Okay, but that's not the case, all right? Because these don't, you know, have the same conditions that we just read. But it is part of, you know, even the WHO. This is it, right? Speak about it, right? This is a key fact. Leprosy is a chronic infectious disease caused by a type of bacteria, Mycobacterium leprae. The disease predominantly affects the skin and peripheral nerves. Left untreated, the disease causes progressive and permanent disabilities. Right, so it says it affects the skin. Right, the bacteria are transmitted via droplets from nose and mouth during close and frequent contact with untreated cases. Blah 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 blah. So it says leprosy is an age-old disease and is described in the literature of ancient civilizations. It is a chronic infectious disease which is caused by bacteria. Blah blah blah. Read that already. Okay, so the peripheral nerves, mucosa of the upper respiratory tract, and the eyes, because even you get leprosy of the eyes, and that's the blue eyes, right? They lack pigment, right? So leprosy is curable, and treatment in the early stage can prevent disability. Apart from the physical deformity, right? So they concentrate on the physical deformity of it, because that's the most shocking thing to, you know, kind of push out there, because, you know, who wants that, right? So persons affected by leprosy also face stigmatization and discrimination, right? So they mentioned about the skin. I'm pretty sure there's something else as well. All right, here it is, right? Diagnosis, right? The diagnosis of leprosy is done clinically. Laboratory-based services required, blah, blah, blah. So the disease manifests commonly through skin lesions, right? And peripheral nerve involvement. Leprosy is diagnosed by finding at least one of the following cardinal signs: definite loss of sensation in a pale, which is hypopigmented, okay, i.e., no pigment, i.e., white skin, so-called white skin, right? Or reddish skin patch, okay, which we normally show in the pictures, right? thickened or enlarged peripheral nerve with loss of sensation and the weakness of muscle supplied by that nerve. Okay, which is, we just saw the bulbous fingers and stuff, right? The mash up hands. Okay, but again, these are forms of leprosy, right? But it said there's different science, right? Uh, right. So on one hand, they acknowledge the fact that, oh yeah, leprosy is that, you know, the lack of pigment and the scabs and stuff like that. But then they start talking about all the gnarled hands and shit. So they blur the lines of what things are, right? So it causes confusion, right? But like I said, this guy, he had leprosy and he was fine. He was a warrior, right? He wouldn't be able to handle no sword or no spear if his hands were all mashed up, or his shield, or whatever, right? So it shouldn't be a surprise to these uh scholars that a guy can have leprosy or a person can have leprosy and be completely fine. Just because they have leprosy doesn't mean they're disabled, right? So yeah, sorry, same chapter. If we go down verse 27, it says, the leprosy therefore of Naaman shall cleave unto thee, and unto thy seed forever. And he went out from his presence a leper white as snow. So he just went forth. He just went out there. He was just changed. You know, didn't say that he was lame and couldn't walk and shit, or had difficulty walking. No, he just turned white as snow. Okay, meaning his pigment was taken away from him and left with that milky white skin. Right? That's what happened. Now let's fast forward to the Lord's time when he was healing them, right? And notice the choice of words here, right? Matthew 10, verse 8 says here, it says, heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, cleanse them, clean them. Right? That milky skin is unclean, right? But Esau, he praised that around the earth. Like that's the pinnacle, that's the best uh, you know, skin to have. But when it's not. Right? That's why you got to be wearing all the sun creams and shit, man, because you just defenseless against UV rays, man. Something that everybody, is supposed to be exposed to. But you can't, you're not really meant to be living out here, man. You're meant to be in a cave somewhere. you know? Um, but yeah, it's a curse that the Messiah put upon your nation, your people. Right? It's not pinnacle nothing. Okay, it's low level, right? But yeah, to cleanse the lepers, cleanse them, right? It says, raise the dead, cast out devils, free have you received, freely give, right? So I'm gonna get another scripture that mentions about cleansing lepers, right? But notice here in this one is another thing is mentioned, right? It says that the blind received, sorry, Matthew 11 verse 5 says the blind received their sight, the lame walk, right? The lepers are cleansed. Now, if you were to believe that this leprosy is these gnarled hands and feet type thing, then obviously that them people would be lame because they'd be finding it very difficult to walk, right? But this is about cleansing. This isn't about giving back people their bodily functions, giving their hands back. Okay, that's more the lame. Heal the lame, right? With lepers, it's about cleansing, cleaning them, okay, restoring to them, right? Because they're unclean. Okay, which shows you is more of a like I said, uh, more of a skin disease than it is, you know, what they make it look like with the whole hands and bones and things. Because that's mash up, man. Okay, his fingers are shorted out and all kinds of things, So you know, it is more of a skin disease than it is these, these things that they're showing here. You know, so like I said, these men ain't got all the white spots and that kind of stuff. They just got mash up hands. You know, so yeah, to be, you have to be cleansed from being a leper to be clean, right? Mark 1:40 says this, and there came a leper to him, beseeching him and kneeling down to him. So he can move around, kneeling down and that, and says, saying unto him, if thou wilt, thou canst make me clean. Right? And Yahweh shall move with compassion, and put forth his hand and touched him, and saith unto him, I will, be thou clean. And as soon as he had spoken, immediately the leprosy departed from him. He was clean. The leprosy departed. Like I say, his skin went back to its original state, or what was supposed to be his original state. Like I said, people were melanated, man. Okay, it's only really Esau that is unmelanated, but he, like I said, he a clean leper, so he don't need heat cleansing from his state, because he, that's his condition is termed or deemed to be clean, because he is, head to toe with it, you know. But obviously, our people and that they needed cleansing because we were suffering, you know, from what they call it vitiligo, right? That's what the law was cleansing. Okay, and return our pigment back, you know. So the white spots departed. Okay, just like when Moses put his hand back in his bosom, after his hand was made leprosy, he put it back out. It was back as the same as his original flesh. The Lord made it depart. Right, so that's what was being cleansed. Okay, you know. So yeah, I think that's all I had for scriptures. Oops. Yeah. All right. So like I said, I just thought I'd do a video on that because of what these commentary man are saying. They don't really show the understanding, you know, concerning the leprosy, okay, and what it does, and what it means really. Okay, because they sound baffled, you know. But these scriptures, man, and Esau's, you know, um, confusion that he puts out there. You can piece it all together, man. So Lord willing, this has been edifying, and I'll catch you brothers and sisters on the next video. So till next time, I say shalom.